you code and you have the technical information. So the essence of both is to enhance our technical skill. Welcome to the server. So probably this is our third time in 2021 that we gather here for most events, and if you are being if you are attended up to 5, please raise your hand. Okay, whenever I say this, let me keep my phone because whenever I put my pocket, you know now, you know as they did. Let me put my hand in my pocket so that when I remove the hand, you know something is coming out. So if you are able to make that, my student tells me you are being up to 6 times. Go. 4. This is the 4th time. Forward. So you are calling a minister of God. Alright, so if you are pertaining up to 5 times, you need to mention 3 over 10, then whatever I give you, you might pull it and please take it. So if you are attended up to 5, please raise up your hand. Okay, please, you have attended up to 5, so try to give me at least 3 over 10 out of the 5. Try. New member speakers. We always have 2 speakers on our last session, so if you can give me up to 5 speakers, I'll give you something. Please, for the sake of the federal government guideline, please, because of the malaria going down, please put on your face mask. Don't do as I do, please. Put on your face mask because of the federal government. They are very effective. So we actually not going to one at a time because time is of essence. We need to go on one. Today is Friday. Okay, if you have attended our events, at least what have you learned in the past 6? That's it. One comment.
I learned some TSSG and some tips to getting myself to get into the school.
CSS is the technical skill to be easily be employable. Sometimes you can code and you're very employable. And tell that person, what did you learn in post 6? Post 6. Yeah. Who else wants to try? Okay, so in our midst, because we have so we need to flow with time. I want to call on our first speaker. A very fine, reputable public figure. A computer science graduate, specialty security and cyber terrorism. Advocate of inclusiveness and complementarity. Chief Trainer and Professional Congratulations Expert. That was your expert. Like, if I want to mention everything here, I will be going to school on anything. I saw someone having 2 master's degrees, 1 PhD, and a lawyer, and so many stuff. So this is our first speaker is all round directional. So I welcome Ernest, Edukere. Welcome, sir. Hello.
My name is Ernest, so the legal title is not giving to but the very first question I want to ask you as a person is, are you happy to be here? No, I don't hear you well. You can't be happy and you're having a long face. How many minutes have we done? 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour? Or are you speaking to the end of the video? Okay, the idea behind these monthly sessions is to enable you as a person to find that place of happiness within your career. But unfortunately, what I'm saying here today are persons looking at me with long faces as if you have been compelled to sit here. So I'm going to pick up someone as my subject this morning. Please come up, sir. Tell me one thing that made you happy today. The fact that I'm a living testimony. He says he's a living testimony, but his face is long. So how do you balance, sit down, how do you balance the fact that you're a living testimony and yet you're having a long face? Do I make some sense? How do you tell somebody, I am happy in my career, I am inspired in my career, and yet you have what? A long face. It doesn't happen. Napoleon Hill once said in one of his books, Think and Grow Rich, he said, you become what you think about most of the time. What did I say? You become what you think about when? Most of the time. If you are thinking moody thoughts and you're not feeling too light, what do you think happens to you? You become moody, you become emotionally destabilized, and you develop what we call challenges, and the next thing the doctors say you are what? Depressed. And what do the doctors do? They come back and give you a drug. And they say, this will help you to get out of your what? Depression. If you don't start now at this age, because I'm speaking to 18 to 30s and maybe a little bit above, at this age to learn to be happy, your career will go like this. And at age of 50, 60, 70, you'll be wondering, what did I do to myself? Initially, I wanted to come and give you signs of happiness, and I tell you, signs 1, Assume 1, Assume 2, Assume 3. And I said, no, I need to speak from my personal experience, because that's what you need to hear. You will always have failures in little things. You will always have that guy that ditches you at the moment you don't expect. You will always have programs that never want to run well because you are thinking, what do I do to create a solution? You will always have challenges, but what will keep you balanced is the ability to look forward. So instead of walking and wondering about and brooding about challenges, what do? You look forward to successes. And that brings you to the number two signs that people don't know. And that is when you have challenges, there is a given portal of moving beyond that challenge. And that is to look beyond using your imagination. What did I say? Your imagination becomes the second key and the second science that applies in your everyday life. If you're running a program line and you have difficulty arriving at your result, just sit down and imagine yourself having that result, but you must still work towards it. People are still sitting this way, so I'm going to do something. This is the post of somebody that is not happy. Have you ever talked to a child and you are speaking to the child and then suddenly you see the child do this? It happens to almost every human being. Once you find yourself going into this pose, what does that show? What does that show? It shows that you are unhappy. You cannot put yourself in that pose. The pose of head bent down. Go to the prisons. How do the prisoners work? Or what we call correction center. You see them working this way. Because nobody wants to be caged. If you want to be happy, the first pose you do to yourself when you find yourself in a point of unhappiness is to do what? Raise up your chest and do what? Breathe in. This is a different kind of science. Don't expect me to come in to tell you that, like we used to do in secondary school or in the university, we talk about this in virology or whatever things you call it. What I'm talking about are sciences that apply in everyday life. You are in a major time in your life, suddenly your parents, one of your parents dies. You are a career person, and you find yourself what? Very, very unhappy. What happened? I lost my mom, or I lost my dad. Is that a reason why you should be unhappy? Somebody just said yes. The real truth is that the creative substance that brought all of us to earth, which we call God, decides who stays and who does what. What did I say? Decides what? And if you are able to trust that creative substance we call God, and he decides that mommy should go, who are you to dispute? Or would you like to take the place of mommy or daddy? There was a movie I watched called From Heaven to Earth. It's a very old movie done in 1946. And somebody died from a plane crash. Another person was in the same plane, fell inside water and refused to die. And then the heaven said, this past time has passed. We should bring him back. They sent the angel of death to God, telling me, hey, my friend, your time has elapsed. This is the time you should be in heaven. When they came, the man was already in love with a girl. And guess what happened? The angel of death told him, you need to come back to heaven. Your time has passed. He said, no. I jumped from the plane. I was ready to die. But somehow death invited to me. The name of the movie is From Heaven to Earth. And the angel said, no, the Queen of Heaven is going to be very angry. Please don't spoil my job for me. Follow me. Let me take you to where? To heaven. First time I wanted to take the man resisted. And he had to go back and report to the Queen of Heaven. And he said, The man has refused to. He said, what happened? He said, the man fell in love. And he feels that falling in love is a brand new gift for him to do what? To stay on earth a little bit longer. You need to watch the movie. It got to the point that they had to go to court in heaven to determine whether the man should stay on earth or be taken to heaven. Happiness is where you find love. Are you doing what you love? And that's another science that people don't look at. Yes, the pay could be good. You'll be earning $10,000 a month. Most programmers do, whether you are living in Africa or living anywhere in the world. You can be earning 10,000 doing Python, Java, C++, whatever programming. You can just be the expert, and everybody's looking at you. But with $10,000 a month, you are not happy. Because of what? You are not doing something that you are passionate about. You are not doing something that your heart sings. You are not doing something that brings that beauty and love in your heart. So what do we expect of you now? Start to think differently. In short, from today, think passion, think happiness, think joy. I'm still seeing some people do this. They've never given up. They've not yet given up on what is holding them back. Do you know one thing that makes us humans and what makes us unique is the ability to perceive. If you perceive something and you decide to change the paradigm, you decide to change whatever you are perceiving to what you love to see, what do you think will happen to your mind? Your mind will be skewed to start thinking of that thing. If you say, my boss no longer likes me, and because of that, it affects my job, what message do you think your mind will receive? My boss no longer likes me. Isn't it? And because of that, I do what? I perform badly in my job. Remember, we're talking about how the law of happiness and inspiration affects what? Your career. You've chosen career, your chosen career is in the IT area. It's very tasking. It can draw the best out of you. But I want to teach you a trick. There are stepwise processes that you can use to achieve happiness. What did I say? The first thing that you need to do is to ask yourself, where is my ground zero? I am very unhappy. My face is long. My heart is covered with so much, cast with so much unhappiness. And I want to start from ground zero. I'm going to sing a song. Now the day is over, night is drawing nigh. How many of you know that song? What does it remind you of? When school hours, and what happens to your mind? So I wanted you to smile. Home again, home again, home again. When shall I? Please pause there. We are not really chorusing today. But you see, every song you sing, everything you do, if it carries the memories of being able to make you to do what? To be happy, will do what? Trigger that happy gland. So where do you want to be? Do you want to be singing, my life is finished, oh God, please help me? Is that what you want to be doing? You need to change the narrative by changing your background song and the background noise. How many of you know what they call the subconscious? Remember that time that mommy and daddy will come out, hey, stop it, you this child, you are going to be a bad child because you are stealing from the pot. mommy done to you? She has placed a puzzle or a program. Let me put it rightly. She has placed a program in your mind. First of all, you will jettison the fact that she called you a child. But you will receive the message, bad child. You will grow up being what? Bad. So what happens to you? Within your subconscious, which is the upper mind, it tells you, I'm a bad child. I'm a bad child. I'm a bad child. Then later on you start looking at yourself. Why are you always doing like this? We spend so much money on you, and you went around doing this. Parents are the first culprits in placing things in children that last them a lifetime. So how do you reprogram your mind if your parent was such? How do you reprogram your mind? How do you reprogram your mind? How do you reprogram your mind? You have to use the same subtle approach. And that's why I call the I am principle. What did I say? In the Christian Bible, they say, who do you say I am? Isn't it? In most religions, whether it's Islam, Buddhism, Anglican, Christian, all the religions carry what? The I am principle. Now, how do you apply it? And that is a very important thing you should apply in your life. Can you tell yourself, I am happy 1 million times? It looks like a joke, isn't it? How are we programmed every day? The same way. Oyom is a good programmer. Everybody agrees. Oyom is a good programmer. Because, Oyom is a good programmer. Which my best programmer is Oyom. Before long, even if Oyom was not a good programmer, what happens? Because we all believe in him. But if Oyom does not believe in himself, what happens? The bubble will be burst one day. Because the first cause point in finding happiness is who? It's me. Don't say yourself. You are talking about the 10%. It's who? Me. So if you want to feel inspired, what should you do? You have to first get yourself into a state of happiness. You must get yourself into that state of happiness because, just like Pharrell said, because I'm happy, isn't it? For whatever reason, just because I am happy. I'm going to share with you a trick. There's a 369 technique. If you want to be happy, write to yourself. What's your name, man? Idatabasi said, oh, I am Idatabasi. I am happy. You write it where? On a piece of paper. In the morning, you write it 3 times. In the afternoon, you write it how many times? 6 times. And in the evening, you write it how many times? 9 times. They call it the 369 technique. When you do it as an exercise for after about 21 days, if you were the most unhappy person, you come back to me and say, Ernest, do you know that thing works? Because anything you put through and gets into your subconscious suddenly attracts the people, the event, and takes you to the places you need to achieve that result. What did I say? It attracts what? The people, makes you experience the events, and takes you to the places. So if you are unhappy here and you keep telling yourself, I am happy, and this place is not good enough to make you happy, what will life do to you? Can you guess? Life will pull you out of that place and take you to where? Where you will be what? Happy. So remember that statement people said, be careful of what you ask for. for it may do what? It may come true. Let me give you a trick. Somebody was working there, having a job that was paying him about $600 a day, and he wanted to start earning $2,000 a day. So he wrote on his desk, I earn $2,000 every day. After 1 month of reciting that to himself, the company he was working for just came to him and said, sorry, sir, we no longer need your services. Pull it out. And he was shocked because he was one of the best workers. And he asked him, we can't use you again. He asked him, is it a problem? Have I done something like that? Guess what happened? In pulling him out, he had to come back and research for himself how to earn how much? $2,000 a day. That led him to learning forex, learning so many ways of making money. And today that man is making averagely $2,000 a day, and he's seated in Canada there. Life will do what? Bring you to people, create events for you, and take you to places that you will do what? You will experience what you are trying to change in your subconscious. All right, I'm going to show you something. Everybody, can you do this? Can you do this for me? Can you do this? Place your hand on the opposite direction. Please, I'd like everyone to do it. It's a simple technique of clarity. Then twist your hand under your chin and breathe in deeply. Hold it and breathe out. Breathe in again. Breathe out. Breathe in again. Out and relax. Now, let me tell you why I'm doing that. Sometimes when you are stuck, your boss is discussing with you and you don't seem to get what he's saying. It's because you are scrambled. Have you watched a television that is scrambled before? You can't see the screen. So you can't really hear or see what your boss is talking about. That technique is called the unscrambling technique. I give it to you free. For my clients, I have sessions with them and I know what I have to do most of the times. And they pay some good money to me to do what? To put their lives sometimes in order. So one of the things I'll tell you is, whenever you're doing business or you have a career, think and appreciate the fact that number one, you have that career. So I'm coming to another law in getting happy, and that is what? Being grateful. The signs of happiness includes gratitude. Sometimes we think we are grateful. Oh, thank you. But behind, in our hearts, we are not. You cannot get more or get where you want to go if you do not show what? Some level of what? Gratitude. If you want to feel inspired, you have to be grateful for the old events in order to have new inspiration come to you. When you are ungrateful, you cause a blockade in your mental realm, in your mind. And your emotions are encapped by what? Ingratitude. And because of that, you cannot have new inspiration come to you. When last did you call somebody and say thank you for yesterday? Spend that your credit, 1 minute call, 40 naira, and call. Hey, Alexandra, man, that thing you showed me was very good. I'm sure there's an Alexandra looking at me here. This is the beauty of life. You must be able to express gratitude, because when you are grateful, your career path becomes clear. Look at the field of computer science today. It has over 200 different subsectors that you can specialize on. Is it not so? But for some of us that studied computer science many decades ago, we only thought of few pathways. Either you say hardware, software, infrastructure development, blah, 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 and all those grammar. But today, you say it's a fair programmer. It's an application developer. It's a web content developer. You can narrate several fields within the field of what? Computing. And you also don't need to be a graduate any longer to be a professional in the field. You can follow the technical pathway and still achieve your results. So supposing you were unhappy that you didn't go to the university, are you not doing something back to yourself? So we'll come back. How can I make you happy? Especially you, especially you, especially you, especially you. What do you take back so that your heart can be open? That when you are sitting in front of your laptop, you see the world as a happy place. And you plug into the system and add value to it. I will come back again. How many of you know what truly a computer program is? Can you touch it? Please, I need answers. Can you touch a computer program? You can only touch a hardware, isn't it? So how do you interact? Where is the major point between the program and the hardware? That means you have to go back to study how creation is. When you sleep, you dream, isn't it? When you meet someone, either you fall in love, or you like the person, or you dislike the person. But the person is physical mass. Why are you disliking the person? What is making you relate with that person that way? It brings you to another sense of happiness that most of us do not believe, but it's not important. But it's called past life. The Chinese, the Indian, our Africans know about it. But sometimes, like in the happiness index, it is said that 3 ways that you become happy are 1. Your environment. 2, the experiences you have. And the 3rd one, your family DNA. That the family DNA, you know what the DNA is? The gene from your family accounts for 50% of whether you will be happy or you will not be happy. Think again. Your family DNA does what? Accounts for how many percent? So it's going to be a hard nut, isn't it? Because already 50%, if your family is an unhappy family, what do you think happens? 50% of the time, you are likely to be the what? Unhappy. But how do you break that DNA? It's the same thing that happens when hardware meets software. If you know how to go back to assembly programming, you will know how hardware meets what? Software. So if your family is a happy family, there's a 50% chance in your life that you'll be what? Please admit first. How many of us came from unhappy families? I'm not asking, just answer in your heart, I will know. How many of us came from happy family? Happiness is defined simply as a state of being in a pleasurable or loving state. I'll give you the dictionary meaning. It's always there. The Nigerian family is a happy family. Now everybody's laughing. Is the Nigerian family a happy family?
Worst family.
No. Please, is the Nigerian family a happy family? Somebody should answer me.
No.
Okay, let's put it to vote. How many people say the Nigerian family is a happy family? Okay, that's about 3%. Okay, the ladies, that means that the Nigerian family takes good care of the women. They are using high food. Okay. All right, this is supposed to be an interactive thing. And I want to be very practical. What's your career? Ask yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love being where you are now? Those that say 10, 10 means 100%. I love being where you are. Be truthful to me, because in being truthful, I'm going to solve a major crisis. If yours is between 3 and 1, please just make some signal. I'll see. Nobody should go back. It means if you're not happy in your career, just make some sign. I'll see you. Okay. If it's between 3 and 5, lift up your hand. If it's between 6 and 8, lift up your hand. So everybody here is happy about their career. All right, I'm going to ask you a different question that will bring out the truth from you. Yeah. Okay, yes, I fell in that line. What about those that don't seem to know what their career is? Remember, a career is something you do over a long time that brings what? Some form of money or whatever to you. A career is an occupation that you undertake for a significant work period. Could be up to 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years. But at the end of the career, can you wake up and tell yourself, yes, indeed, I was happy that I was serving? In knowing your career, you need to do what they call, you need to take, there's what they call the DISC test, DISC. It will help you to know the kind of person you are, and then from there you know the kind of things you will likely do. Happiness has now been programmed into a scientific way. The first level of happiness is zero happiness, which we call what? Unhappiness. Are you happy? Yes. How? What level? Somewhat. Or not happy, which is zero. So you must ask yourself, are you here today because Hansen asked you to be here as part of your continuous assessment? Or are you here because you really want to learn the skill set of moving beyond a dull career into what? A happy career. The other day, I made a call to a friend of mine, a lady, who had lost her husband sometime last year. And she said, I asked her, what do you really like? Did you really want to do when you were young? He said, I wanted to be a sailor. I said, what? She said, I wanted to be a sailor. I said, what happened? She said, my mom said, and my parents said, I cannot be a sailor. That sailing is for who? For men. So she lived a dull life, had to go and study economics in the university, went to do masters in the same economics, and now she doesn't feel fulfilled. At the end of the day, what happened to her? So in talking to her, I now said, you can still relieve that passion. One of the things you can do is, since you love selling, write about sellers. Interview them. Look at the world of selling through their eyes. Experience the world of selling through their eyes. That is one way to bring happiness and fulfillment and getting inspired. The other thing we don't do most of the times is that we do not take 5 by 5. We don't take a break. Because it's my career, you push against the door. You keep pushing and pushing and pushing until your heart is hot. And then you come back wallowing in what? In pain. And you tell yourself, why am I even doing this? So I'll tell you one thing. Sometimes you need to take a break. You go to even a beach, walk along the beach, remove your sandals, and take a stroll. Pick your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife. Go for a holiday. Relive life and let the brightness of your heart be rekindled. Then, with that, what do you think will happen? You find career happiness. I want to tell you lastly, before I go, it's taken from a book called Parables of Egg. And it says, mortal clay has come to stay, even this will pass away. It means anything that you are not successful at, be aware that one day, even the pains it brings will do what? So give yourself that chair. Exactly, laugh at yourself. And as a gift to you all, I want you to laugh. I want you to laugh. I want you to laugh. And I want all of us. So let's laugh in different ways. Okay, sir, please laugh. His laughter begets your laughter. When you laugh about life, you create laughter, which then does what? Expands the heart. You need to laugh while walking. That is the best way to find your path in your career. Thank you very much. If you have questions, I don't know if you have time for questions, but if you do, ask me anything. It doesn't have to be on this topic.
Your imagination. Okay, so I'm asking, how can you, my name is Alfred Lazarus, how can you think beyond your imagination?
Imagination is already an instrument of the mind. So you actually thinking using imagination. Imagination is that God gift to you. It is through imagination that we have had the computers, the TVs, you. It is because your dad imagined having a child some time ago. When you see someone that doesn't have a child, along the way in that person's life, he had a strong imagination that stuck to the person's subconscious that made it impossible in the person's mind to conceive that he or she would have. If you can imagine yourself as a good programmer and continue to imagine yourself receiving excellence, your world will change. Imagination is that spirit energy that is in you. Any other question?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Edukere. Sir, you said something about God having to choose when someone has to die or not. So, sir, in a situation where someone is committing suicide, does it mean God has not chosen when a person is going to die?
You are God. You also are sons and daughters of God. But most of the times, suicide is taking your own life, and it's not a good thing. And that's why when you see people that are emotionally destabilized, try to go near them and help them through the process. When I say God chooses, I mean in the activity of you doing things for yourself. This is electricity. If I go and hold it, with the full knowledge of what electricity will do to me, I will blame myself and I will get punished in a way. But that's a topic for another day, not a scientific topic, but it's a philosophical topic. It's a high spiritual topic, and actually, as a person, if your mind skews you towards suicide, it's because you have implanted that in your imagination, in your subconscious. If you tell yourself, I am a survivor and I can pass through anything, in your subconscious, the more you repeat it to yourself. Remember what I said, repeat something. Using the I am principle, I am strong, I am brave, I am happy. It will help you to go beyond that. In the science of survival, the first person that will determine his survival is you and me for myself. So if you allow unhappiness, you know that we kill ourselves through with unhappiness. When we are unhappy, we let our organs not to receive energy. In Chinese, there are 15, I'm going to another topic. In Chinese medicine, there are 15 meridians. They call them energy lines in the body. When you are unhappy, you block some of the energy lines from getting to certain places. And if it gets to your heart center, it withdraws the energy that should have survived your heart. Then later on, you have blood arteries, you have coronary issues, you have high blood pressure, and before you get depression, the next thing they say, oh, peace, perfect peace. Which means the person has died. So in everything we do, we must be self-conscious of the fact that our thoughts bring and create most of the things that we have as experiences in this world. There will come a time that programming will no longer be done by you keying in, just by taking in. And at that time, somebody is still developing it. And at that time, maybe we'll be able to transfer our latent ability to be programming into robots. You saw the new robot they brought called Sonia. How pretty was Sonia? And when they asked Sonia, what is it that you know better than man? What did Sonia say? There's something that man has that I don't have, which is what? So, but later on, when we are able to transfer the emotion and the self-consciousness of it into robots, what do you think will happen to robots? Let me tell you. Please clap for Please, before I go, you guys are awesome. You are all happy. And I know that you will always remain happy. Bye-bye. Please clap. Clap.
That was a beautiful one. Thank you very much, sir, for honoring our invites. If you have a question and it was not answered, please, you can actually visit the seat. Is very much available to answer your questions. Thank you. Without much ado, we have a very fine speaker, a public figure. She's the founder of She Codes Africa, a foundation willingly ready to help the girl child code. After knowing that men has dominated the space, she took that challenge upon herself and she founded She Codes Africa. She's also a contributor in the African open space community, and she's the ecosystem community manager of the Sub-Saharan Africa with Google. She's a development relation expert, software task advocate. Please let's put a hand of applause to Miss Ada Nduka Oyom. If you permit me again, I will say Ada is the founder of She Codes Africa. She Codes Africa is a non-profit organization focused on empowering young girls and women in Africa through technical skill. She Codes Africa was founded in 2016 and has since impacted over 5,000 women in African countries with her team. She started out as a
developer. If someone is a self-taught developer, that's to tell you that if you are here in starting innovation hub, you can do better. If someone else sits in the comfort of our home to teach ourselves how to code, what about you that now have that person as a mentor and you want to listen to the person today? So on this note, let's put a round of applause to Ms. Ada Oyom. Thank you. Please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me clearly. And thank you for that.
Forgive us. Please hold on for a minute. Thank you.
Yeah, try again.
Thank you. Please, you can now have the floor.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Now, minutes. We are still not getting you. Okay, I think we are ready for you, Ada. Go ahead.
Okay, for the third time, hi, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me clearly.
Hear you.
Okay, thank you for.
Can hear you loud and clear.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Ada Nduka Oyom, and just like they have mentioned, I'm the founder of She Code Africa. I'm also going to be sharing a few other things about me that I do. So give me a few minutes to present my screen. Okay. I'm just going to click on present. All right. I'm going to be giving a talk on personal branding and visibility for technical talents. Now, you'll be wondering why I'm giving this talk or what qualifies me to give this talk. I'm someone who is always an advocate of putting yourself out there, especially in recent times, seeing how tech is widely spreading. I mean, anyone and everyone who is interested in tech can decide to, I want to come into technology, I want to come into the STEM field and pick up a course and start learning from there. I wouldn't say it's really saturated, but it's slowly getting to that point. And at some point, you would need to stand out. You would need to think of what stands you out and present your brand, your own identity as something unique or as something different. So just like the MC or the host had introduced me, some of the things that I do at Google. I'm currently the community manager for the Sub-Saharan Africa developer communities, which is including the Google Developer Groups, GDG, and the Women Tech Makers program here in SSA. And aside that, I am the co-founder of Open Source Community Africa, for short, OSCAR. What we do at OSCAR is a community for anyone who is interested in coming into the open source space. It's gender neutral, whether you're a guy, you're a girl, whatever gender you identify as, and as long as you're interested in open source, OSCAR is community for you. And then outside of this, I founded She Code Africa. So what we do at She Code Africa, just like the host mentioned, is we try as much as possible to celebrate and empower young girls and women in technology across Africa. So just a brief info to the host is She Code Africa, not She Codes Africa. I know a lot of people make that misconception, but it's She Code Africa. And then outside all of these communities and organizations, I'm also a technical writer and a content creator. Now, for content creating, I'm more focused on video creation. Some of you might know me from the TikTok videos that I make regards tech content and all of that. And then also from podcasting as well. So now these are just a few things, some of the things that I do, and you would see how as we go on, these things tend to stand me out and personalize my own brand to what I do. So now, when it comes to visibility and personal branding, right, I wanted to give more light on a typical tech career journey. The typical career journey for the average person in tech. Now, this doesn't have to apply to everyone, but the typical career journey for people in tech is you start out by building your skills. And this is after you've figured out, okay, what field you want to specify in. You start out by building your skills in that field. And then you join a community or you grow your network. So those two things, they can either intertwine or they can be separate. You can either choose to join a community and just, get to meet more people, or you can individually as your own start growing your network just by your own advances. And then from there, you start to scale your career level. You notice that you're moving from maybe junior or beginner to from novice to beginner to intermediate and things like that. And then from there, you kind of get to a career plateau in the sense that, okay, I scale from junior, mid-level, senior, then what else, right? It's just that level, and you're just probably hopping from one company to the other, but it's literally on the same level. Or you even go ahead to start your own organization, but it's still on that same, let's say it's a managerial role, but it's still on that same level. And then after that, what next? It feels like it's a it feels like it's a career crisis. And many people, when they get to this point, it's like they don't know what else to do. Some people at this point go ahead to start their own company because they feel like, oh, I've gotten to this point where I don't feel any need, or I don't feel like I'm gaining as much as I want to. So maybe I can start a new adventure for myself, and then they start their own company or things like that. Or you just keep hopping from one company to the other. Maybe the responsibilities might differ a bit just to get you more excited about what you're doing. But this shouldn't be so. Why shouldn't it be so? It's because there there are loopholes when you follow this typical journey. It's more like it's already outlined for you. I do this, I do this, I do that, and then that's the end. It's like saying, okay, you come into the world, your parents take you to kindergarten, from kindergarten to nursery, from nursery to primary. It's like you already know all of these things that you need to do. Nothing stands you out from your colleagues, right? And this type of journey or pathway per se, it does two things to you, or in my own opinion, two things to you. So one is that it limits or slows down your career growth. Now, in the sense that it's either when you're scaling from one level to the other, it's very slow. One, because you don't have that network of people who are advocating for you. You don't have that legibility per se. Now, another thing I'd like to point out is when people think of, oh, build my personal brand, they think of, say, for example, developer advocates are always out there talking about this, talking about that. They feel they have to always be up on social media, sharing their thought process on everything, saying ABCD about every single thing, but that's really not about it. You don't have to go that far. Remember, it's your personal brand. You don't have to follow the route of somebody else. And another thing is that it puts you at an average among your peers, in the sense that nothing is really standing you out. If you're a software developer, another person is a software developer, another person is also a software developer. You're working with Java, another person is also building with Java, another person is also building with Java. Like, what exactly stands you out? I can be in a room, I'll use myself as an example. I can be in a room filled with people, but when people mention Kolokodes or Nduka Oyom, people can already think of, oh, I know her from this, I know her from that. But when people mention your name, what's that one thing they think about? Is it something positive? Is it something related to what you're doing in tech? You have to think about all of these things. So this is where visibility and personal branding comes in as a tech talent. Now, remember, you don't have to be somebody who is in the technical part of it, right? A tech talent can be literally anybody who works in tech. It doesn't have to be that you probably have to code or things like that. So visibility and personal branding, right? How do you now get to build your personal brand? But before we start that, like, why do you need visibility? You need visibility. I'm going to first this again. You need visibility to stand you out. One, you need some form of legibility, right? When people think of you, or when people say, "Oh, XYZ is really good at that," or somebody comes on Twitter and say, "Oh, I need a designer who's really good at UX research," or something like that. And is your name among those that people are mentioning? How many people can vouch for you? How many people can vouch for your work and things like that? So this is where visibility comes in. How many people are seeing what you're doing in your field? How many people like what you're doing? I mean, they don't really necessarily have to like it. How many people can speak on your behalf? I know Prosper wrote an article, that's Otemiwa Prosper wrote an article last year, I think, or yeah, last year, early this year, about who is speaking on your behalf. So when you choose to want to build your personal brand, how do you go about it? It's very, very simple. By very simple, I mean the steps, but the procedure, the time, and all of that might take a while. Remember, it's entirely up to you to go at your own pace. It's entirely up to you to choose what you want to do, what you want your name to be associated with. Now, one thing I forgot to talk about is that when people talk about personal branding, the positive side to it is that it helps you as well. It helps you in terms of job opportunities. It helps you in terms of career opportunities. I'll highlight more on it as we go on. So to build your personal brand, you have to first of all find your niche, in the sense that what do you want your name to be associated with? I have built my brand so much that when people think of my name, the top things that come to their mind is developer relations, gender equality and advocacy, women in tech advocacy, community building, and things like that. That's because I have set myself as your go-to when it comes to these different fields. So you have to find your, you can't do A, B, C, D and say you want to be an expert in all of them. It's not going to work. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't know other things or you shouldn't be good in other fields, but identify those fields or that field that you want people to know you as. When you think of Samson Goddy, what comes to your mind is open source, yes. When you think of Prosper, Unicode developer, what comes to your mind is software engineering. What comes to your mind? Laravel, things like that. When you think of Hanson Johnson, what comes to your mind? Startups. When you think of Anyedi, what comes to your mind? Community. What comes to your mind? Developer communities. So all of these things, okay, when you think of Eddie Young article, what comes to your mind is open source as well. What comes to your mind is technical writing. That's because all of these people have taken their time to set up their niche in the fields that they want to. So how do you find your own niche, right? You don't have to enforce it on yourself. If it's something that you have to enforce on yourself, then it's not something that you should be saying that's your niche, because in the long run, you will get exhausted, you get tired. In the long run, it's something that you wouldn't want to see yourself doing. So if you're thinking of how to figure out what to focus on or what niche to focus on, you have to look at something that gives you joy. I know that sounds cliche, but you have to think of something that gives you joy, something you enjoy doing. Because another question you ask yourself is, if they wake me up at 1 a.m. in the night, that's if you're asleep by 1 a.m. in the night. If they wake me up by 1 a.m. in the night to speak on any topic, what's that one topic I would speak on? If you ask me, it's on community, it's on developer relations, it's on women in tech. So all of these things, if they wake you up at 1 a.m. in the night, what's that one topic that you can confidently speak on without having to think of anything? That's what you need to think about. What's that one thing that even in 5 years, 10 years to come, even if I retire from tech, I will still have at least a bit of knowledge in without having to do any research or anything like that. Once you find that thing that you're very confident in, that's your niche. And then another thing is now build your domain expertise in it. You can't say you want to be your personal brand and you don't know zilch about that domain. If it's software development, whatever field it is in software development. Okay, so for example, look at Shegun Famisa. Shegun Famisa is an Android developer. When it comes to anything Android, if you think of Shegun, think of Android, right? And you can't be an expert, or you can't be an expert in that field if you don't know what you're talking about. So you have to build your domain expertise. And this is one place a lot of beginner tech talents make mistake in. People, especially lately, what people see is that craze, oh, I want to be popular on social media. I wouldn't call it clout chasing per se, because to them, they might not know that they're going the wrong way about it. I want to be popular on social media so I can get more opportunities and things like that. But you're not taking out time to build your expertise or build your knowledge in that thing. And by building your domain expertise, I'm not saying wait till you're 100% perfect before you now say, okay, this is what I want people to think of when they think of my name. No, it's a thing that progresses as you go. The more you go in depth into that field, the more you have to learn, the more you know about that field. But don't just start from zero and say, oh, I'm an expert in Android development, I'm an expert in web development, anything React Native, come to me. No, it's not like that. You have to start from somewhere. And then another thing is that create a personalized profile. Now, this personalized profile, for example, when the host was introducing me, there was a bio he read. When it still boils down to when people think of your name, sometimes you might not have a profile, but when people think of your name, there's already something, there's already a paragraph at least that they can make out of you. Oh, he's this, she's that. When you think of this, she's that. Have something like that. Create a personalized profile that when anyone needs an introduction of you, there's already something that stands you out. Maybe in your bio, when you want people to either look up your name, or if you have a portfolio or your LinkedIn or your Twitter, those things are there to show that, oh, this is what you're focused on. If you go to my Twitter handle, you will see keywords like developer advocate, you will see gender equality, you see open source. Those three things are things that I want people to think of when they think of my name as well. So create a personalized profile. It doesn't have to be a very long bio. Sometimes it can be intimidating in the sense that, oh, I haven't achieved anything, so why should I start creating a bio? You don't need to wait until you've gotten 100 awards or achievements or records or all of those before you start creating your own personalized profile. Start from somewhere and then keep building it up. I know it's just like your CV. As you progress in your career, you're updating your CV every now and then. And then another thing is that you need to learn to share your knowledge. If you're trying to build a personal brand, if you're trying to create more visibility for yourself, you need to learn to share your knowledge. And this is where a lot of people make that mistake, in the sense that, okay, I've come into this field, so what next? All right, I'm building my domain expertise. Okay, what next? I created a profile, what next? That's why a lot of people make that mistake. If you're not willing to share knowledge, people have more affinity to tech talents like them that are willing to share their knowledge. If you know something, share it, right? There's this adage that says that you learn more when you teach or when you share. I've forgotten how it's put, but you get it just. Learn to share your knowledge. Look at someone like, I'm going to use a lot of people as examples. Someone like Prosper now. If he's not talking about the things he's doing, if he's not throwing more insight, if he's not building things, if he's not writing articles, look at Edukere. If she's not writing articles on how to be a better technical writer, nobody wants to be associated with her. For me now, when it comes to developer relations, I started something for young people who are trying to, well, not young people, newbies who are trying to get into developer relations. That's my own way of sharing my knowledge in DevRel, but it's not limited to that. I started a community for women in tech within Africa. That's my own way of saying, this is your safe space. Come and do whatever you want to do. Come and grow. Come and connect to more people. That's me going the extra mile and saying, I'm trying to share the things that I know. And it's more like giving, right? People have more affinity when you're giving and you're learning, and they see that you also want them to grow. So you need to learn how to share knowledge. You don't have to do it real big. I know some people who come into tech and they don't have that affinity for like social media and all of that. So there are several ways to share your knowledge. It could be via having your own blog. It could be via your own social media platform, whatever it is, whatever platform you want to share your knowledge on. Just make sure that you're at least giving back to the community. And then another thing is you need to learn how to put people on. Now, one thing is that a lot of people are not patient when they're building their brand. People think, okay, within 1 year, I should have gotten to so and so level, or I should have gotten to this person's level, not knowing that it took a lot for them to get to where they are. This whole thing I'm doing in community did not start today. I think it started from the very first day I decided to, okay, get into tech. And I think that was around 2014. And I've been doing it consistently. I don't even feel like I'm where I want to be. So I'm still going. But people come into tech and they feel like, oh, within 1 year, I should be as popular as so and so person. Within 1 year, I should have gotten to this level. Within XYZ number of months, I should have attained so and so. But it's not like that. It's really just life. Your journey is different from another person's journey. And in some cases, when you're putting people on, it might happen that they might even exceed you in the level that you are. But you shouldn't be selfish. You shouldn't be, what's the word? You shouldn't be selfish. You shouldn't be intimidated. Yeah, you shouldn't be intimidated, because when you create that pathway or that gateway for people to come in and they succeed you, or they scale through the level that you're currently at, that's a good thing. Trust me, it speaks highly of your name, because then they're going on to say, oh, without this person, I wouldn't have gotten to where I am. They're speaking on behalf of you, even in places that you're not. So you need to learn to put people on. But number 4 and 5, that's sharing your knowledge and putting people on. A lot of people tend to confuse it. Oh, if I share my knowledge, that means I'm putting people on. No. Putting people on goes beyond saying, oh, I know something about how to work with Firebase, so I'm going to write an article. No, putting people on goes up to the extent of saying, oh, there's a job opening at so and so place in my company, so I'm going to speak on your behalf and I'm going to put you on. Or somebody requested for so and so, I know this number of people that do this, so I'm going to refer them, and things like that. It does a whole lot to your personal brand. And then another one is contribute to active communities. Many people take this for granted in a whole lot of ways. Many people feel like, oh, I don't need to be active in communities. I don't need to be interested in communities to build my brand. Yes, it might not. It might work for you. It might not work for you. But it's an advice. This is entirely optional, but it's an advice that I would always give to anybody who is associated with me, because I know how much communities have done for me. Right from how I started in tech, all my career growth, I would definitely attribute it to communities. So how do contributing to communities help you? One, it's helping you build your skills in the field that you are interested in, and it's also helping you build skills in other fields that you might not even know that you need. And then a certain time might come where you would need to exhibit those skills, and before you know it, you're superseding every other person who is in competition or in line with you for that particular field or that particular role. And then another thing is that it's giving you more visibility. Say you go speak at an event like I'm doing right now. Some of you may have not seen me before, and this is your first time of seeing or interacting with me, but now you know of me. Now when you hear my name, I come to your mind, right? So it's giving you that bigger platform to exhibit yourself, exhibit your brand, exhibit your skills and all of those things, and also gain more skills as well. So now, some common platforms that I would suggest to help build your brand, but these are not limited to this, but these are the things, the ones that I know that have worked highly for me and a lot more other people. They include one, personal blog. Now, for personal blog, you don't have to build your own blog. I know platforms like Hashnode, dev.to that that give you this thing, your own personalized blog. Then there are also platforms like Medium. But if you feel like going ahead to build your own, this thing blog, you can do that. Then there's also social media platform. Social media platform is, I think, 90% of everyone's go-to when it comes to building their profile. It's almost everyone's go-to because it's easy to reach. It's something you can just choose to, okay, within 5 minutes, I can tweet about something. I can share my knowledge on this. I mean, that's what I'm using right now, especially for DevRel Lite, which is the platform I created for people looking to go into developer relations. For social media, it could also be TikTok. I mean, TikTok is slowly getting more popularity within the tech community. A lot of people are using it more to share their info, to share knowledge on whatever field it is that they choose to. Then there are platforms like streaming platforms like YouTube, Twitch. Lately, we're beginning to see more Nigerian developers, Nigerian tech talents who are going into technical vlogging and technical blogging on their YouTube channels. Then there's also platforms like Twitch as well. People go on there to just stream, maybe learning how to code or building so and so with XYZ language, or how to design XYZ. There's so many platforms like that. So how does building my brand benefit me? I mean, I've been talking. So what's like the essence of all of this? Right. So one is it gives you access to bigger opportunities. I cannot overemphasize on this in any way. It gives you access to bigger opportunities because I will use myself as an example. When I started out, I would attribute all of the things I said I have right now, all of the success that I have right now, to me putting myself out there. I mean, I got my role from InterSwitch, Google, because of all the things that I do within the community. I got my InterSwitch role. The hiring manager reached out to me via Twitter. Same thing with other opportunities as well. People reach out to me, oh, I like what you're doing. I see that you're doing so many things for women in tech. I see you're doing so many things for communities. I would want to feature you on this. I would want to interview you on this. I want to do this, that. And it's the same thing. So it gives you access to bigger opportunities. I cannot overemphasize on that. And then another thing is that it builds authenticity around your brand, because people are interacting a lot with you. When you say, this is my opinion on this, it's you being honest. It's you putting it out there that, look, I'm human, I would have flaws, I'm not going to be perfect, and this is my thought opinions on things like this. When people get to keep associating your brand with authenticity, in rooms where your name is mentioned, there's a level of, I know who she's talking about and what she's saying is 100% true, things like that. And then another one is that it creates strong influence. I don't like to use this word influence, but for lack of a better word right now, it creates strong influence among peers or industry or within the industry, right? If I share my thoughts now on women in tech advocacy, or if people say, oh, who mention like the top 5 people who are doing something for women in tech within Nigeria, within Africa, my name will pop up. There are other names that will pop up as well. That's because they're doing amazing things within this same field as well. That's because we've associated our brand with this same field as well. Doesn't mean that you, who is also doing something like that, you're not doing amazing. It just means that you're not bringing more visibility to yourself. Now, one thing that I'd like to point out as well is that when it comes to bringing more visibility to yourself, don't make that mistake of choosing fame over authenticity. It will get to a point where, yes, your name is in everyone's mouth and it's getting to your head, and then you forget to make your brand about being true to self and being real. That you start concocting things, and before you know it, you start losing that level of influence that you have over that industry, over this thing, your peers. And in summary, I would want to say that building your personal brand is entirely different from when you're building a brand as an organization. And for those who are still beginners in tech, who are still starting out, please do not underestimate it in any way. It does amazing things to your career that the typical career path that you're going through might not do so much, especially in recent times. You have to make sure something stands out for you. You have to make sure that when people are talking about your name, there's at least one thing that they can associate you with, and it's something positive. So thank you, everyone. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at Kolokodes, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Can we do the round of applause? Okay, thank you so much, Ada. We sincerely appreciate your energy. It's amazing listening to you. It's really amazing.
Please, can you put a thunderous clap of applause? Okay, the essence that we keep getting fine speakers that have done their public reputation to talk about personal branding is because of the niche we find ourselves. So at this point, maybe you have a question to direct to our speaker, please. If you have a question, please. If you have a question, please. Okay, let me point on one. You don't have a question, but I'm sure you have a contribution, like saying, yes, I value the message you sent to me. Thank you. Please, sir.
Okay. Well, I would like to say that personal branding is very, very important as the technical developer, web developer, what have you. So for you to stand out, you really need to put in the work. Like you need to know your audience very well, so that when your name is being mentioned at any point in time, people will know you for what you can do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a fine contribution to affirm what our speaker, Ms. Ada, said. I need to find another person. Okay, gender equality. The person that spoke to us is, no, she's not against male, but she supports women. So, okay.
My name is Dara Deluna, and I really thank you for the message you just gave us now. And this has helped us to know where we stand and what you do as a society. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, one thing I learned when someone said, do you have a question? And the class says, we have a question. In the secondary school or university, maybe we were shy or we did not want our classmates to see us as a dull student. So some of us, especially my mathematics class, we really did not like to ask a question. So I will say the word of today is not because we are shy, or it's not because you don't want me to see you as a dull person or us. It will be because you understand the steps, because this is practically practical. So I want you, when you go back, you put in the work. Now you are here, what do? Take picture of yourself, take picture of yourself with your friend. Post on Facebook, post on Twitter, if you use VPN, post on Twitter, post on Instagram, tell people that this is the event you attended. That's the part of your personal branding. Okay, we have one boss.
Everyone, good afternoon, Mrs. Good morning, Mr. And I want to ask, you said something about create or build about the right stuff. As a startup, how do you or how can you advise a startup to start to build a personal domain? How do you or how can you advise a startup? I'm asking this because many human beings have diversified career. Are you getting me? So how can a startup, a new career plan, build a domain startup in order to meet a client's expectation? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your question. Miss Anna, please, can you?
So I got the question clearly.
Okay, let me put the question. The question is, as a startup,
you want to build your domain expertise, and maybe you have several careers. You like to get you directly. Let's say you are a digital marketer, you are a Python developer, you are a Laravel developer, and you want to build a career like a on one. So the question is, how do you advise starter, which is confused because at this stage that person is confused, but he or she is willingly ready to build a domain expertise. Thank you.
Okay. So what I would say is different languages, when it comes to a particular field, right, look at the field that you want to be focused on. From everything that you've just said, I mean, if those are the fields that you have mentioned, it's all in under software development. So that's a particular field on its own. But if you want to look at something more specific, like, okay, if anybody thinks about anything Python, that's the field that I want to be focused on. If anyone thinks of anything on Laravel or PHP, that's the field I want to be focused on. Then it's really just following the same steps that I have shared. Create your niche in that particular field. Share your knowledge more about those things. When you learn something new or when you're onto something, maybe something new comes out, you need to within a particular field. Share your knowledge on it. Right? You would notice that there's more intensity on that particular field than on other fields. You can be a mobile developer and you can also have skills in this thing as well. But if you want to be more specific on mobile development, it's more about doing more. So it's a thing of, okay, I'm going to give 70% of my time to mobile development and 30% of my time to software development. Doesn't mean that when people come to you, knowledge or questions on web development, you don't have that expertise, you don't have that idea in it. You do have, but when he's an expert in mobile development, your name comes up. So you're doing more. Does that answer your question?
Thank you so much for the explanation. Thank you so much. Is there any other question? Okay, thank you so much, Ada, for your time. We sincerely appreciate you for starting the relation for. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, guys. That was amazing. How many persons have snapped? Okay, please, can you take a picture with your neighbor? Take a picture with your neighbor. You want to snap with me? Why? Please, let's snap. Do your phone, let's snap. You don't like pictures. You don't like pictures. Don't be an introvert developer, my advice. Snap picture with us. Okay, please take picture with your friends. Okay, so there's this thing we call the horse's mouth. Do you know what the horse's mouth means? Hello. I am asking you a question and you are not answering. Who do you want to impress? Hello. Okay, so the truth is, whenever this man speaks, I wasn't that good in education, but I was good in looking for knowledge. Whatever that means, I don't know. So I am going to invite someone in this space. You feel a touch, like someone holding you and walking you through a process. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to invite someone that has raised, changed the narrative, what we talked about, the narrative of the quiet space. We go back to that person. At least to say they want to us before we go. So at this point, boss, you are not running. Sorry. I am inviting Mr. Anthony Johnson to spend even 2 weeks with us. The time is 2 minutes only, and we'll wait there. Thank you, sir.
I want to say good morning, everyone, for those physically and virtually, for this seminar. We also want to thank facilitators, Mr. Ernest, Edukere, and Uganda. So we are here today again. This is the second edition this year because we have this last year. So we are looking forward to this 8 and promises to be even more interesting than what we have experienced so far. So it is great. I want to say thank you for making it happen. So 1 minute is still remaining.
Okay, I like you.
Okay, thank you, sir, for honoring us. Thank you. The truth is, we learn every day. We learn every second. Maybe you think, why am I always going to this event? Maybe the information you are getting in all these sessions may not make sense to you now. I made someone contacted me about our program, about a post I wrote around February. So and that post is bringing that person to my inbox. That was last week. So sometimes what you are learning now will not make sense to you now. The post you are making now will not make sense to you now. Please don't go for reaction. If you post on social media and you have 2 likes, that means over 10,000 persons have seen that content. Don't go for likes. There are some persons that they have sworn never to comment on your post, and they love all your content. I have seen it. Like this guy said that, sir, I wake up every day and go to your, and you say you have never commented like that means you come from. So it happens. So don't look for the immediate. So many stuff I learned. It brings result, the RIO, in days or months or years. So thank you for coming to Apple 7. We have post 8, we have post 9, we have post 10. We have post 11 and the get together of the post. The post get together. So thank you very much. I wish you a productive day ahead. At this point, inviting the Mr. Edukere, the project manager of Site Innovation for Akron. Please come forward. No, our closing remark is always a good participant. So just this is. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I first of all would like to thank everyone for signing up for the boost. I believe we're blessed and we've got the insight of what to do, and after that I believe we're putting into practice because that's what we want. You can't do without spontaneous learning and tech. That's the truth about it. So thank you very much. Please put to practice everything you can, particularly personal branding, and see yourself going forward. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, our final closing remark before we go. Okay, sorry.
Hello everyone. Thank you all for coming today. I've actually learned a lot. how to find my imagination in various ways and how to be happy. I've also learned how to be a personal brand. I hope we all apply that in our various areas. Thank you.
Dear developers, it's Friday. Thank you.